Imagine for a moment that everything you thought you knew, all the things you believed were true, start to shift in a way you hadn't quite expected. And just like that, the familiar patterns, those ones you've been following for years, begin to dissolve. It's like when a wave rolls in and suddenly you realise you are standing in water you didn't even notice was there before. You see, every belief you hold, every pattern you follow, was once created by your mind in response to your experiences, to protect you, to guide you, to help you make sense of the world. Yet what if, just for a moment, those old patterns could be interrupted, like a sudden change in the rhythm of a song? A change so surprising, so unexpected, it opens up new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new ways of behaving. And you may begin to notice how, when you step back, the way you respond to situations starts to shift. The old automatic ways of thinking, the ones that used to lead you in circles, just begin to fade, almost like watching a cloud dissipate in the sky. And notice how, underneath, the air feels clearer, fresher. And with that clarity, something new is beginning to take shape. Because once your mind is free from its old automatic patterns, it naturally seeks to fill the space with something that's more aligned with your potential, with your desires, with your true nature. So perhaps you start to understand those seemingly automatic responses, they can be loosened, just like gently untangling a knot. When one thing shifts, everything around it has to adjust. And just like that, your mind begins to notice how everything changes. You realize the patterns you once thought were fixed, rigid, permanent, are in fact nothing more than habits. And habits can be changed. Now imagine for a moment you're standing at the crossroads of a new possibility. The belief that you must respond a certain way, it's just a story. The pattern you thought defined you, it's just a series of old decisions you're free to revise. It's not that they were wrong, no, not at all. But what if they no longer serve you right now? And you could simply choose to act, choose to think, choose to behave differently. What if you could learn new responses, new beliefs that flow effortlessly into your life? You see, once you've realized patterns can be interrupted, you also realize you're the one who can do the interrupting. And here's where it gets interesting. Because when you interrupt a pattern, it doesn't just end. It opens up a space for new patterns to emerge. Patterns that are more aligned with who you truly are. Patterns that serve you. That work with your strengths, your desires, your vision. You might begin to realize how your mind, always looking for shortcuts, can choose to rewire itself, to interrupt and create new connections at will. Imagine those old beliefs you used to hold being replaced with new ones that allow you to make different choices, more powerful choices, choices that feel natural, effortless, and empowering. It's almost like being able to step into the future you've always dreamed of. And it's happening right now, in this very moment. And in this new moment, you notice how easy it is to let go of the old, because you don't need them anymore. They simply dissolve. New and more resourceful ways of thinking and behaving emerge. A surprising and effortless change in direction, and suddenly everything seems clearer, more aligned, more in flow with what you really want. Now as you let that sink in, begin to realize the more you practice this idea, the easier it becomes. You start noticing how interruptions create space, how space allows you to create. And with each moment, each choice, the pattern of your thinking, of your beliefs, becomes increasingly fluid, more adaptable, more open to fresh perspectives. Every time you experience an interruption, a surprise, your mind makes new connections, discovers new ways to look at things, new ways to respond. It's as though your mind knows deep down the real power comes not from staying locked in one pattern, but from the freedom to move and change and grow with ease. So just imagine, when you step out of the usual patterns, when you surprise yourself, there's no limit to the potential, the creativity, and the power you can tap into. Your mind becomes like a fresh canvas, ready to be painted with bold strokes of new beliefs, new skills, new possibilities. And you realize in that moment, you were never truly limited to one way of thinking. It was just a pattern that you'd been following without even realizing it. But now you see that the power to choose, the power to shift, the power to interrupt, it's always been within you. And with each new decision, each new moment of change, you expand, you grow. You open yourself to new ways of thinking. And you begin to live in a world where the only thing holding you back is a pattern you no longer need to follow. You can choose, you can create, you can interrupt. And you can flow freely, like the river carving its own path, moving forward into endless new possibilities. And as you continue to imagine this process unfolding, you may begin to notice how effortlessly your mind starts to expand, to evolve, to discover the power of interruption, of shifting a pattern, simply by the act of choosing to break free from the expected, from the ordinary. It becomes almost second nature, doesn't it? And in that very moment of surprise, of unexpected change, you realize the deep wisdom of your mind. Your mind already knows how to create new pathways, new connections, new beliefs. It's as if you've always had the ability to interrupt your own patterns, and yet you've just never fully realized how easy it is until now. Because in the pause, in the break, in the subtle shift, something magical happens. Your unconscious mind, like a skilled artist, begins to paint a new picture effortlessly, and without hesitation. The old beliefs, the old responses, the old patterns, they begin to dissolve like fog lifting in the morning light. And as they fade, new beliefs emerge, beliefs that open up an entirely new realm of possibility. The truth is, once you've experienced the shift, once you've stepped into that space of change, you understand on a deeper level just how simple it really is. You can allow yourself to interrupt the automatic flow of thoughts, to create new directions. You can choose to respond differently, in ways you hadn't considered before. In this moment, you start to realize all the patterns you followed, they were simply options. Options that were once chosen, but can be changed. And you begin to notice, like a seed growing in fertile soil, how the possibilities continue to unfold naturally and effortlessly. And perhaps as you allow this realization to settle deeply, you start to realize this ability to interrupt, this ability to choose, is more than just a skill, it's a power that grows stronger the more you use it, the more you practice it, the more you allow your mind to break free from the old, the familiar, the habitual. It's as though every time you interrupt a pattern, you become more aligned with your true potential, more connected to your natural creativity and ability to make powerful choices. Your mind, always so willing to adapt, starts to notice how every interruption, every unexpected moment opens a door to something new. It's like stepping into a world that was waiting for you all along. A world where there are no limits, no boundaries, only endless opportunities to create and choose from. And with each interruption, you can sense how your mind relaxes into this freedom, into this openness, knowing there's no one path, no one way of being. You can change, you can choose, you can evolve, all with ease. And isn't it interesting how when you realize the patterns you once believed were unchangeable, they are in fact just thoughts, and thoughts can change any time. They shift as easily as clouds in the sky. You may even begin to notice how quickly your mind adjusts, as if your unconscious mind already knows exactly how to interrupt and create new possibilities. It's as if you've tapped into a limitless well of creative energy, a resource that's always available to you, just waiting to be activated. Now just notice how all of this begins to happen more naturally with every passing moment. How your ability to interrupt patterns becomes easier, more fluid, almost effortless, you start to realize interrupting, it isn't just about breaking old patterns. It's about creating new, expansive ways of thinking, being, and doing. It's like walking into a room full of open doors, knowing each door leads you to a fresh, exciting opportunity. And as you walk through each door, your mind becomes more expansive, more open to all the potential that exists in each moment. And notice how the more you embrace this process, the more it becomes a part of you, as natural and effortless as breathing. You'll realize how the part to choose, the part to interrupt, the part to create new pathways, it's not only yours, but it's something that comes from deep within, from the core of your being. You begin to trust this ability. It's always there for you, ready to be activated whenever you need it. It's as if your unconscious mind has always been waiting for you to awaken to this truth. And now, as you do, you notice how this new belief begins to take root. And just like a seed growing, it begins to take shape in the most natural, powerful way. You see, what you've come to realize is the interruption. It isn't something you do to yourself. No. It's something you allow to happen. Something you choose to engage in. And when you choose it, you begin to experience life in a new way. Your choices become clearer. Your decisions more powerful. And the patterns that once held you back, they begin to dissolve like sand slipping through your fingers. And notice how, with each interruption, you begin to create more space for something new to emerge. Something more aligned with your desires, your true self, your fullest potential. The more you choose to interrupt, the more you choose to expand, to grow, to evolve. And you may even find this new way of thinking and being is becoming so deeply ingrained in you, it feels like second nature. It's as though your unconscious mind knows, without question, that interruption is the gateway to unlimited freedom, to unlimited possibility. And with every breath, with every moment, you open up more and more to the realization that you have the power to create, to choose, to evolve in ways you never thought were possible. And with that realization, your mind naturally begins to seek out new ways of being, new ways of responding, new ways of living. And just as effortlessly, you begin to embody these new patterns, these new beliefs, these new ways of creating your life. And as this process continues to unfold, you realize it's not just a skill, it's your true nature. You're always meant to create, to interrupt, to transform. And now you see how easily, how naturally it all flows. Each interruption, each shift, each moment of change, it's just the beginning of something incredible, something amazing, something new. And it's happening now. And as you continue to feel this powerful shift, you may start to notice how with each moment, with each thought, you can feel the patterns of your mind becoming more flexible, more adaptable. The more you allow yourself to relax into this flow, the more you realize change doesn't need to be hard. In fact, it happens naturally, effortlessly, the moment you give yourself permission to choose. You see, what's interesting is your unconscious mind is always working, always guiding you, always leading you towards new ways of thinking and being. And when you pause, when you take a moment to interrupt the usual rhythm of your thoughts, you may realize this interruption is not something forced. No, it's simply the opening of a doorway to new possibilities. Perhaps you begin to sense every time you interrupt, you actually expand. Every time you create a break in a pattern, you step into a fresh experience of possibility. It's as though your unconscious mind knows exactly how to take this moment and to use it as an opportunity for transformation, for growth, and for change. And notice how the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Your mind becomes increasingly aware of the subtle shifts, the little openings where you can make new choices, where you can step into something completely different. And as you practice, it becomes second nature, a part of your way of being. You begin to recognize almost automatically how to interrupt the old patterns and open yourself up to new ones. Your mind is like a finely tuned instrument, always tuned to the most empowering choices, always ready to shift at a moment's notice. And as you begin to recognize this, you might find every time you interrupt, feels more natural, more comfortable. You start to trust the patterns you once believed were fixed. They are in fact just temporary, changeable. It's in your power to change them at will. And as you continue to realize this, something amazing happens. You no longer need to struggle to change. You simply allow it. It becomes a smooth and effortless transition. When you interrupt, you're not forcing a change, you're inviting it. You're welcoming the new possibilities, the new belief, the new direction. It's almost as if the change happens without your conscious effort, because your unconscious mind already knows how to make the shift. And the more you trust the process, the more you realize how the simple act of interruption opens up a space where new thoughts, new beliefs, and new possibilities can emerge. You begin to feel lighter, freer, knowing you're not bound by the old patterns anymore. They simply slip away, like an old coat that no longer fits, and in its place something new, something expansive, something that fits you better begins to take shape. And just like that, you begin to feel how much power you truly have. The power to choose, the power to change, the power to shift your mind and your life at any moment. Every time you choose to interrupt, you create space for your unconscious mind to create new connections, new beliefs, new ways of thinking and being. And it feels effortless, it feels natural. As you allow this process to unfold, you may begin to notice how your mind starts to operate with a sense of flow, with a sense of ease. The old patterns that once seemed rigid, fixed and unchangeable become flexible, open to a new direction. It's like seeing a path that was hidden before, but now it's so clear, so obvious. You wonder how you ever missed it. You begin to realize that in this space of openness, your mind is free to innovate, to adapt, to choose new ways of thinking and responding. You start to see how interrupting a pattern is not an end, but a beginning. It's the beginning of a new cycle, a new belief, a new way of being. Every interruption becomes an invitation for something better, something that aligns with your deepest desire and your highest potential. And as you allow these beliefs to settle in your unconscious mind, you may notice they're becoming more and more integrated. They're becoming a natural part of how you experience the world. The more you practice this, the more you realize your mind is always looking for the best, most empowering ways to respond. And you can trust that, no matter what happens, you can always interrupt and choose a new way of being, a new way of thinking, a new way of responding. And now, as you begin to recognize just how much power you have in this process, you start to feel a sense of calm, a deep sense of peace, knowing you have the ability to create your own reality. With every interruption, you're not only changing a pattern, but you're shaping your future, creating a future that's in alignment with your true potential, your deepest desires. And the more you embrace this idea, the more you realize every moment is an opportunity to create something new, something better, something more aligned with who you are becoming. You're constantly evolving, constantly transforming, and with each shift, you come closer to your truest version of yourself. And as this belief settles deeper into your unconscious mind, you begin to see that change is not something you need to fear. It's simply a process that allows you to grow, to become more of who you truly are, and to create new possibilities in your life. So now, every time you encounter a situation where you feel the old pattern might arise, you can simply pause. You can pause, take a deep breath, and effortlessly choose something new. And each time you do, you reinforce this ability, this powerful skill, this natural flow of change. You'll find that, over time, interrupting the old patterns becomes as natural as breathing, and you begin to see your world shift in ways that feel not just powerful, but effortless. Now you understand on a deep unconscious level, you've always had the power to interrupt, to shift, to transform. And with each moment, you're more and more aligned with that power. And that power is working for you, guiding you every step of the way.